Welcome to Ippodhu. Stay with Ippodhu, you will never lose perspective. We are today joined by Teesta Setalvad, one of the biggest hopes of Indian democracy. Her struggle in the last 15 years about the 2002 Gujarat program has given us a lot of hope, lot of confidence about fighting back fascism. Welcome to this. Yeah, I would like to start with the 2015 thing because which is still fresh in the public memory. You having to fight for a bail in Mumbai, and also you were freezing of your accounts, bank accounts of CJP and other accounts. And how did you deal with that particular situation?
See, it was not easy because, I have been a personal target of the Gujarat government when the current Prime Minister was Chief Minister since virtually the beginning. You probably don't remember because public memory is short, but 2004 itself, when the Best Bakery case was transferred to Mumbai, after Zaira Sheikh, who had actually brought the case to us, she was turned hostile for a second time, taken to Baroda, press conference was held. Amit Shah locked her up in a guest house for 1 month along with her mother and brother, and she turned hostile for the second time. Instead of giving evidence in court, she actually subverted the prosecution. We know that she functioned out of fear, intimidation. There was some amount of allurement given to that family. So that happened in 2004. Despite that, we continued with the Best Bakery case in Mumbai. We had a very upright judge who was not disturbed by all these happenings. And we did not depend on only the Zaira Sheikh family, so the other witnesses deposed and we got justice. So that was my first brush with what the system can do to you when you actually persist with your fight for justice. That has been my enduring experience, that even the system, even the judiciary, wants you to just dabble for a few weeks and months initially, maybe create a little bit of a ripple, but not persevere. If you persevere, then the system hits back. The party in power is one part, but the system also doesn't want you to persevere. That is what the lesson that has been taught to me. So that was in 2004. Then 2011, 10 and 11, when we persisted with the Zakia Jafri case. And it was a clear connection that we had this former employee of ours who's now been rewarded by being put on the Central Waqf Board. Also a Muslim, you see. So look at the language that is being used. And we had to remove him from service in January 2008 because of certain problematic things he was doing with witnesses and his behavior. So the trust took a decision to discontinue his services. But 38 months later, for 3.5 years he's quiet, suddenly he wakes up. And that is when the Zakia Jafri case is being pushed by us in the High Court, when we are analyzing the phone call records, when we find that not just ministers but even Modi's phone call records are compromised, the Chief Minister's records, and these are all being brought by us to the Supreme Court through my affidavit. The Raghavan, who comes from this city, R.K. Raghavan, completely betrayed the trust of Zakia Jafri and the survivors by saying that there was prosecutable evidence but there is not enough to prosecute him, some sort of weird conclusion. But we decided to persist. So that is when the blowback became even stronger. And there were 7 cases filed against me at that time, all criminal. The courts didn't entertain most of them, only 2 courts entertained them, which is why I had to rush around for anticipatory bail and all. And then came what you're talking about. So you remember 2014-15, but for me the experience is from 2004. And I think that's what you need to remember, that people remember only the sensation. But it's a long haul. And then of course came the allegations of financial misdemeanor and then the freezing of accounts and all that. And we believe that this was very clearly a desperate government which did not want that Zakia Jafri case to last. But it is still there. It's very much in the courts. And even the October 2017 judgment of the High Court has not gone entirely in their favor, the SIT's favor. They've said that in fact the magistrate not giving us further investigation was wrong. So we are going to file an appeal. So the fact that we are continuing with the appeals is, I think, what got us this action in the first place. How did we deal with it? It was very difficult. I mean, we paid a personal cost, we paid my health is this thing, my family is paid this thing. But what sustained us was the huge amount of public support. And I think that is eventually where it lies. That yes, the FCRA accounts were frozen, and very, very unfairly, even our personal accounts are frozen, which has never happened before. But our trustees stood by us, and our trustees are people of high prominence and eminence in public life. They knew that there was not a paisa of misdemeanor, so we opened a fresh account, and the donations, we've had to persist in continuing, getting donations, and we've got donations. So our activities have slightly been controlled, but it's been with great difficulty, but we've had lawyers, doctors, teachers, professionals donate, and therefore we can carry on. But what people need to understand is that the game is to vilify. The game is to vilify you in the public domain so that you become a touch-me-not. So one experiences what being an untouchable is like after being, that's saying that don't go to this organization, don't associate with this activity, don't invite Teesta Setalvad to seminars or speeches. That is their intent. And the fact is, whether it's Chennai or across the length, and whether 5 or 6 times a month I'm invited, and there are invitations from different groups, not just all the splash surroundings of Chennai, but even small little groups in Madurai, in Vidarbha, in Gujarat, they keep inviting you. And despite the fact that it's very difficult physically, I try and go everywhere, simply as a fight back, to show that, all the attempts at the powers that be to render you an untouchable has not succeeded, And therefore, I would like thank you for this opportunity, and even some of our trustees said that please relaunch CJP. What has been your experience? What has been the real unique experience of Citizens for Justice and Peace? It has been that in a very hostile system, we've managed to navigate the courts. Being in courts is not easy. Dalits know it, poor people know it, women know it, that in fact we talk about constitution and all that, but to take a case to its conclusion is not easy. We fought 68 cases. We got 172 convictions, 124 to life imprisonment. We fought against the death penalty, which is difficult. We convinced survivors that we don't want retributory justice. Now, all of this means a high commitment to principle and also a lot of tenacity. But I guess that is why we were dangerous. I've come to the conclusion that the system doesn't mind how many books you write, how many articles you write. Even if you have a channel, it doesn't matter. But if you get into the courts and actually get a conviction or get this, and I think, let's not forget that Babu Bajrangi, Maya Kodnani, powerful Patels from Sardarpura, Ode, these are people whom our Muslim landless laborers deposed against, and we managed to get the convictions. And so they might be the odd Zaira Sheikh or the odd former employee, but the vast majority of our survivor families are still with us. And that, I think, is a big thing to support, and big positive. The problem, however, remains is that the system will take a long time changing. Ours has been a very positive experience, but to take it further, we need to do much more.
Yeah, and not just you whoever has been a well-wisher of you, like Indira Jai Singh, they are also targeted. Not just your accounts. And how did you deal with that, or how did your friends, did they desert you, or what happened?
See, actually, Indira Jai Singh is a different kind of story, because many of our other lawyers at the Gujarat High Court level, at the Supreme Court level, Bombay High Court level, they have not been targeted. I think Indira is a story by herself because of the stand she took, not necessarily because of her association to us. I don't know. It could be also, it could not be also. She's herself an independent person. But I think, like I was saying, that when like I will appeal on your channel, I'll say that please come to our website cjp.org.in. We are trying to use our experience today to fight for Adivasis, to fight for Dalits. I'm now Vice President of the All India Forest Workers Union, and if Teesta Setalvad has got 15 cases against her, my woman leader from Sonbhadra has got 10 cases against her, and nobody even knows her. People know Teesta Setalvad, but they don't know Sukalu, they don't know Rajkumari. They don't know all these women Adivasi leaders who are being harassed with these false cases. The POSCO struggle. Again, there's been a renewed attack on them. So we are trying now to expand our expertise and give legal aid to other human rights defenders, because we've had a little bit of skill in navigating the system. So we said, why not use that positively for other human rights defenders? So therefore, if you look at the cjp.org website, it's quite an attractive website. We've said that we've got 4 pillars, 4 new pillars. There will be minorities, of course, religious minorities, but also Adivasis, also LGBTQIA, also children, also Dalits. Even the Dalits, after Bhima Koregaon, there are at least maybe 2,000 Dalits all over Maharashtra who have false cases against them. I already have a list of 100. Anticipatory bail is not being given. There are young students who are giving the MTech exam or a young girl who was giving her MPSC public service exam and she's picked up in Kalyan, you know, and today's hopefully we are getting bail for them, you know, the lawyers are working for them. So we are trying, you see, the Indians, we are a democracy, but the rule of law doesn't work for the protester, for the dissenter, for the struggler, you know, we have this veneer of civility. So I think somehow we have to get the legal system to be accountable, you have to engage with it. When you engage with it, you suffer. So I think we have to create a larger body of people who engages with it. So CJP has to be not just Teesta Setalvad and the thing, but a lot of faces, so that it's more difficult for the system to hit back.
Yeah.
You know?
In your memoir, you had talked about, had we done this during 1984 massacre in Delhi, maybe this 2002 would not have happened. And despite your work for the last 15 years, the Muzaffarnagar 2013, before that Assam 2011 had happened. And how do you understand it? As you said, maybe India needs more Teestas across, spreading across the length and breadth of the nation.
I think it's not about more Teestas. I think we need to understand that nowhere in the world have civil liberties or civil rights become real without your fighting for them. Okay, they don't just come without fighting for them. So the reason why we decided to form CJP in 2002, okay, we were also on the streets in Bombay in 92-93, okay, and we advocated for the Shri Krishna Commission report. We took witnesses under the Shiv Sena regime. Under fear, we made sure they deposed. When the report came out in 1998 February, Sabrang published it, and we sold it for 65 rupees and 130 rupees, you know, so that people across the length and breadth of the city and state could see what the judge had said. It was a very, very important report. But 10 years later, Gujarat happened, and I was there. And I remember telling everybody, because many of the people active in 92-93 became our trustees afterwards, saying that, you know, if Bombay was bad, Gujarat is 1,000 times worse, you know, because it was like 19 of the state's 25 districts. The pattern was very similar. It was not just one city. It was gendered violence, broad daylight. It was horrific. So that got the realization to me is that, you know, that, and I would go back beyond 84 also. Nobody talks about the Nelly massacre of 1983 in February. Even the BJP doesn't talk about it because there were Muslims involved. 84 was Sikh, so, and it's a Congress party, so it's easy for them to talk about as a countervailing to Gujarat. But 1983, I still remember that Mrs. Gandhi's visit there and all that, but she couldn't stop it. I mean, there was a massacre of Muslims. So somewhere the Indian state has become increasingly majoritarian, and that process started in the 80s, you know, and the police force getting majoritarian, the response of the PAC in Hashimpura, in Meerut Malyana, you had army people shooting down 51 Muslim boys, you know, so it was, I mean, you had shocking instances of the way the state machinery has behaved. And Dalits to feel it every day. You know, with Muslims there are bouts of kind of very, very concentrated, violent, like pogroms, like you said. But with Dalits, it's like a institutionalized everyday thing. So many deaths every day, so many rapes every day, so many exclusions every day, you know, so we've institutionalized that. So, I mean, we have a democracy, we have a constitution, but we have inequities in place, and our structures of governance, that is our police force, our education, what kind of history we teach, our judges, they don't come from this diverse section of society who have these sensibilities. So we have to still democratize these structures. I was talking to a friend who was an advocate in Chicago, an advocate for human rights, and I was, you know, expressing such anguish. You're talking about, I'll come to your question about Muzaffarnagar and Assam, but I was talking about the kind of lynchings that have taken place in the last 3.5, 4 years. And I said, we seem to have changed the pattern. That don't go in a mob, don't kind of just pick up that innocent one person, you know, and let all of society celebrate. So that a societal consensus builds up around that hatred, you know. And I was talking to her about it, and she said, you know, we were like this 200 years ago. And she pointed out that when America had its lynchings in the far south. So I think democracy needs to work to deepen itself, to deepen its democratic structures, to make them more plural, to make them more responsive. And you can still have a Trump after that, like you have in America. So it's a thing in progress, you know. I don't have all the answers, but the only answer I can find to Assam and Muzaffarnagar is that Assam is slightly different. Muzaffarnagar is No, actually they're similar, because you had so-called secular parties in power, the Congress in Assam and Samajwadi Party in Uttar Pradesh. But like you had Congress in power in 92-93, who allowed Bombay to burn. Bal Thackeray was commandeering the streets, but Sudhakar Rao Naik was not acting. So therefore the majoritarian tendency doesn't come overnight. You allow it to take over, and when the rule of law doesn't act, it becomes very easy. So I think for me, a very important assertion at this stage is for citizens to be active at the local level, apart from a national voice and national protest. We have to have the confidence to build Mohalla committee, call them what you like. It could be called Mohalla committee, it can be called Ekta committee, it can be called citizens committees, which constantly interact with the DM and the police. And we have to put pressure on them, these symbols of authority, that they have no business to function in a majoritarian way. They are sworn to the Constitution. And if they are sworn to the Constitution, they have to protect everybody. But how do we make that happen? When you know that parties in power are giving contrary messages. Like I said earlier, that we have a party in power at the center and in 19 states that does not believe in the Constitution. It's openly saying it wants to overthrow it. So either citizens actually believe that this is a new freedom struggle, even more difficult to fight, that we need to fight. And we have to put 2-3 hours a day to do this work, because otherwise we are losing ground very fast.
Also, the last 15 years, you had brought a lot of changes to the victim protection and the witness protection. The systems and processes have changed because of the fight over last 15 years. And listening to you, I think, do we need a broader civil rights movement, like a very popular movement, which will take care of more protections for the victims and witnesses in the long run?
I think we need both. I think that we need to the success you're talking about is that we managed to get this amendment passed to the CRPC in 2009, which was directly after the Best Bakery case, where under Article 2482, Section 2482 of the CRPC, now the complainant or the victim has a right to engage a lawyer. Otherwise, it was left to the state to file an appeal or not file an appeal, to push a case or not push a case. Today, the complainant or the victim has a right to take that case forward. Even earlier, that right was there, but it was sometimes not granted, sometimes granted. It was up to the discretion of the court. Today, it becomes a statutory right. So, but to avail of that right, you actually have to have legal aid committees. And our legal aid is in a mess. I mean, we know the kind of prosecutors we have compared to, defense counsel will be paid lakhs of rupees per day, but the prosecutor will be getting a pittance. So we need to also battle for, when we talk about a civil rights movement that actually it can engage in the courts, not simply do demonstrations, not simply just distribute pamphlets. We have to build up that capacity, that we have 5 to 10 lawyers. I mean, that's my dream, 5 to 10 lawyers in every district. Not necessarily belonging to CJP, but who are allies, CJP and its allies, other allies, who can work together, work wedded to the same ideology, which is Constitution. And at the drop of a hat can actually step forward to assist those who are wronged by the law. Because we are really seeing repression through the law now. I mean, what is Gau Atangwad? I mean, you have cow protection laws, I think including in Tamil Nadu, I'm not sure, where the sections of the law empower these lumpens who go around. I mean,
we don't have it. In Tamil Nadu,
you don't have that. But in some states, so the law allows people in the name of helping protect the cow to these lumpens to do what they like. So I mean, you have to have a discourse about repealing those laws. I mean, if at all the cow has to get a certain sanctity, it cannot be at the cost of human life. Okay, so there has to be a negotiation, there has to be a civilized debate, and then we have to figure out how it can happen. Because we have a situation where the next month now all the appeals are going to be heard in the Supreme Court, and there's a whole controversy in the judiciary as to which judges are going to hear which appeals. So you have the Aadhaar case, you have the Babri case, and the cow, the beef laws, all going to be heard in the next 3 months. So we are seeing a closing in from everywhere, but we are also seeing some resistances coming from different places. How do we build on those resistances? I mean, you are part of a certain alternate media. I think the media is also part of the abdication, no? The huge abdication has happened because of the media. I mean, nobody wants to make connections. Nobody wants to cross the T's or this in the dots. So I was having breakfast this morning and I suddenly see Padmavat. I mean, Padmavat is not a fringe in action, because the next frame you have Khattar saying that those who are in jail can wash cows. I mean, what are we talking about? You know? What kind of India are we really interested in building? So, I still believe that these forces are in the minority. But they behave as if they have an absolute majority, because I think a large part of the good people are not organized or they are silent. We need to do both. We need to organize ourselves in such a way that we are heard better and more cohesively, and also wake up those who are fearful and silent, because the enforcement directorate, the income tax, all these things are being used against people. But I keep telling people that if you're 50,000 of you, it's very difficult for the income tax to do anything. If it's 5 of you, then you will be targeted. So we need to build that confidence that we will not, even if we are targeted, we'll stand up for it together.
Yeah. As you said, I'm coming to the last question. The media is not speaking truth to the power. That is another major issue Indian polity is facing today, particularly because they are not held to account. That is one major issue. And how do you think, you have Sabrang, you have an alternate media, and how do you think this could be? Because digital has opened up, particularly social networks has opened up the spaces for citizens. How do you think we can leverage this?
See, I personally believe that even the alternate internet portals, we need to really sit together, everybody, and think of building a common plan. Because again, we will only be taken seriously if your 2 million or whatever it is, and my whatever numbers and X whatever numbers are seen together as a platform of resistance. Just now we are all managing our little own areas, better, worse, whatever. In Kerala there are 2-3 portals, I know. Okay. In Odisha there are 1 or 2, I know. I mean, everywhere there are good journalists who are experimenting with this. Can't we somehow think of making a linkage where the numbers seem as one? Okay. That we don't lose our individual identities, but they are seen as a kind of platform.
Yeah.
Somehow we are still, that competitiveness has not gone away. So we are not able to, and we don't realize that when we talk about fascism, we have to give away our egos and our competitiveness and have to be looking at these platforms. That is not happening yet. And I think that's really a part of the problem. That we ourselves keep voicing things like fascism, but not realizing that this fascism is not being tackled with us as unitedly as we should. And I don't expect unity means coming together in the sense of dissolving identities, but in terms of respecting each other's identities and still standing together as one platform. I was really shocked. I mean, the whole of December this year and January is 25 years of the time my city burned. And Sabarang and CJP are the only people, not even Scroll and Wire didn't do much, who did not even commemorate those 25 years. I was wondering why. What was it that did not get this attention? Is it because of the party in power? What is it? Now, this year will be 16 years of Gujarat.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying it every year the same way that will be done, but 25 years is certainly a benchmark. And I was really surprised that not much was carried by even the alternate media. So is there some degree of selectivity even there? That what is popular today we pick up, but we don't take up issues which are not so popular or whatever. I don't know. But I think a lot more discussion and introspection between alternate portals is also necessary. Today there's no discussion.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. More power to you. Thank you so much. ஒக்கி புயல் பேரிடர் பாதித்த மீனவ சொந்தங்களுக்காக தமிழ் சமூகம் சில பல காரியங்களை மெல்ல மெல்ல செய்து கொண்டிருக்கிறது. ஆனால் அந்த கடலோர கிராமங்களில் ஒரு 5 நாட்களை செலவழித்த போது இது போதாது என்று தோன்றியது. குறிப்பாக இந்த மக்களுக்காக பல ஆண்டுகளாக வேலை செய்து கொண்டிருக்கக்கூடிய பேராசிரியர் வரிதையா கான்ஸ்டன்டின் இந்த பேரிடரை பெண்களின் கண்களை கொண்டு இன்னும் நாம் பார்க்கவில்லை என்கிற ஒரு குறையை சொன்னார். அது உண்மைதான். கணவனை, அப்பாவை, அண்ணனை, தம்பியை, மகனை இழந்த அந்த பெண்களின் பார்வையிலிருந்து இந்த பேரிடரை நாம் பார்க்க வேண்டி இருக்கிறது. அதனால்தான் சென்னையிலிருந்து
10 உளநல ஆலோசகர்களை, பெண்களை அந்த கிராமங்களுக்கு அனுப்பி இந்த பேரிடர் பாதித்த பெண்கள் அவர்கள் பேசி தீர்க்க வேண்டியதை பேசி தீர்க்கவும், அழுது தீர்க்க வேண்டியதை அழுது தீர்க்கவும் நாம் சின்ன குழுவாக மனிதி என்கிற அமைப்போடும் மற்ற எல்லாரோடும் சேர்ந்து அதற்கான ஒழுங்குகளை, ஏற்பாடுகளை செய்து வருகிறோம். அதற்கு உங்களால் இயன்ற இதில் செல்லக்கூடிய உளநல ஆலோசகர்கள் அனைவருமே பாராட்டுக்குரியவர்கள், நம் மதிப்புக்குரியவர்கள். அவர்கள் தங்களுடைய எல்லா வேலைகளையும் விட்டுவிட்டு இந்த பெண்களோடு உரையாடச் செல்கிறார்கள். அவர்களுக்கு அதிகபட்சமாக நாம் செய்ய போகிறது போக்குவரத்து, அதே போல தங்குமிடம், உணவு போன்ற வசதிகளை மட்டும். அவர்கள் தன்னார்வலர்களாக தான் இந்த பணிக்கு முன் வந்திருக்கிறார்கள். அதற்கு நம்மால் இயன்றதை செய்வோம். இப்போதோடு பேசுங்கள். 9843605505 அல்லது 9445515340. மீண்டும் சொல்கிறேன், வாட்ஸ்அப்பில் நீங்கள் இணைவதாக இருந்தால் 9843605505 இணையுங்கள். தொலைபேசி செய்ய வேண்டும் என்றால் 9445515340 பேசுங்கள். நாம் இணைந்து ஒரு வலுவான தமிழ் சமூகத்தை கட்டியமைப்போம். நன்றி.